I think we can only beat them from a counter-attacking position as well. If we do draw them all in, if we do contain them very well.
So I think McTominay is really key, and I think he's going to be key on Sunday as well.
The Manchester derby is coming up at the Etihad on Sunday at 2 p.m. I'm really looking forward to it because Manchester United tend to have a good record at the Etihad for some reason in recent years. So I thought, who better to get on to talk about Manchester United than my good friend from The Athletic, Anthony Hay. So, Anthony, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast today. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. How have you been recently?
I've been good. I'm just glad the Premier League's back this weekend because international football just doesn't really do much for me. So
You and me
yeah,
both.
yeah, I'm just buzzing to have it back. And what a game to kick it off with. With obviously you got Arsenal Tottenham on Saturday, and then the Manchester derby on Sunday. So I think it's going to be a brilliant weekend for football.
It's going to be fantastic, and it's going to be really good to see how these managers kind of go up against each other. The Arteta versus Conte battle, the Ten Hag versus Guardiola battle as well. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Ten Hag looks to outclass Pep Guardiola in his style of play. But first things first, what are your thoughts on the game? What are you looking forward to watching in on the Manchester derby on Sunday?
I'm just glad to see Man United back in action because when was our last Premier League game? Like it was ages ago because obviously we had the two postponed. I know we had the Europa League game, but obviously
That
Europa
was the
League,
last
Premier
game.
League,
That was the last
yeah,
game when we lost to. No, we beat Sheriff away. I think it was the 2-0
yeah.
one.
Was it 2-0? 2-0?
Yeah,
Yeah. So it'd just be good to get us back in the Premier League because I think we were on a really good run before obviously the Queen sadly passed away.
yeah.
With four straight wins? Um, so yeah, it'd just be good and it'd be a proper test. Obviously, Man City, for me, I think they're going to win the league. I think they're better than Liverpool and Chelsea and us. So it's the biggest test in the Premier League. And to go to the Etihad, I know obviously as you said, we have a good record there of late, but it's the biggest test in the Prem. So obviously they're in Anfield. So yeah, it's just going to be good to see whether Lisandro Martinez, if he can still continue his great form. Obviously, his partnership with Varane's been excellent over the last few weeks, and I'm so glad Varane managed to come back injury free, touch wood, that he doesn't get an injury before Sunday.
Mm.
Um, and obviously seeing players like Anthony again, like we haven't seen much of him. Obviously, he's had those little cameo appearances, had a few starts, but we haven't seen the best of him yet. So yeah, it's just a big test for all the players and just to see what level we're at. Obviously, City are like the top team in the Premier League, so it's going to be good to see how Ten Hag competes against Man City, Guardiola, and having to go to the Etihad.
Yeah, it's excellent to see how Manchester City have started the season. They're unbeaten as well. A couple of draws in there as well, and a couple of comebacks as well. The one against Newcastle, the one against Crystal Palace, especially rings to mind as well. So it goes to show that there is a bit of character when they are down the season as well. So it goes to show that it's not all doom and gloom as a City fan when you are kind of down as well, especially with the Dortmund game as well. You're looking at how they came back and how they scored the goals that they did, which is extraordinary for me as well. But I'm really looking forward to seeing a couple of these key battles coming up as well, Anthony. Like you said, Lisandro Martinez, he had a fantastic game last season against Erling Haaland in the Champions League, where Borussia Dortmund lost to Ajax, and it was Erik ten Hag's Ajax, where I believe Ajax had the maximum points. They won every single game in the group stage, and it goes to
Yeah,
show how people who have seen Erling Haaland previously and Lisandro Martinez play previously as well. Lisandro Martinez won that battle. It's shown quite dominant. It was shown how dominant he was against Erling Haaland. Not everything was played to him at chest height or at head height as well. It goes to show how Martinez can actually outjump some of these players as well and outmuscle them as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Lisandro Martinez does against Erling Haaland as well. And I think with the whole Harry Maguire situation as well, I'm really happy that he's out of the team. I'm really happy that it's a Martinez and a Varane situation, just like you said as well. Varane coming back fit is a big plus for us as well. So it goes to show if
mm.
he does get fully fit, for the game, it'll be good to see how we kind of go against this Manchester City attack, which is looking
Yeah,
threatening at the moment.
yeah. I think Maguire should even be below Lindelof in the pecking order. To be fair, like his confidence is completely shot. He obviously had that long talk with Southgate after the game, apparently the other day. But he just needs to be taken out the firing line, even maybe just to leave him out the squad for a few games. Like he just needs to regain his confidence on the training ground and really get back to basics, I think. So yeah, hopefully we don't see Maguire for a few weeks, even if he might play in the Europa League. But yeah, I think he just needs to be taken out for a while. But yeah, with Varane, I think Ten Hag's done really well with him, just easing him into the season because I think Ten Hag said he's a slow starter towards the start of the season, And even with pre-season, he didn't get that many minutes because I think he just wanted to protect him because he knows how important Varane is. Obviously, we saw against Brentford and Brighton, without him, we conceded, 6 goals? So,
Yeah.
and then with Varane in the team, we haven't lost this season, I don't think. So he's so integral. So I'm so glad he's fit and firing.
It's really nice to see how Rafael Varane has become the centre back that we expected that we bought last season as well. So it goes to show that when looked after properly and when managed properly, it goes to show that he is the kind of right player that we kind of needed going forward as well. So hopefully this is the reassured partnership we've been waiting for a long, long time as Manchester United fans. And you could even say the same about the back four as well, couldn't you? With the likes of Diogo Dalot, who personally proved me wrong because I thought he wasn't good enough to play for Manchester United as a first team player as well. Ever since that Liverpool game, he's kind of come into his own, come out of his shell, been a lot more passionate on the pitch. And I think working with Varane, the right centre back, has been a lot more. There's a lot less pressure on him, I would say, as well, because he's got a reassured centre back partner at right centre back, and it goes to show how confident he can become as well. And I'm looking forward to it as well because he scored 2 goals for Portugal in the international break as well. He had an assist as well, I think, in one of the games. And it goes to show how he and Tyrone Malacia, who was taken over from Luke Shaw's responsibilities at left back, could be a proper starting 11 now as well, with a proper back four. I'm looking forward to seeing how this defense kind of goes. What are your thoughts on the fullbacks so far this season, Anthony?
Yeah, they've been brilliant, Dalot and Malacia. And what I really like, I don't know, I'm sure you've noticed it, a lot of people have. Whenever they do like a block or a good defensive action, all 4 of them are hugging each other. De Gea sometimes gets involved. They're clapping hands. There really seems to be a unity between the back 5 now, which
Yeah.
I don't think we had with Shaw and Maguire because I feel like there was a bit of friction maybe between Maguire and De Gea. But now those 5, you can tell they love playing with each other. And it's just a solid unit now, which I don't think Shaw or Maguire are going to be able to get back into as long as they stay fit. So yeah, the back 5 is looking really good. And then you got McTominay, who I think for the last 2-3 games has been so good in that defensive midfield position. That's why Casemiro has still been on the bench. And I think that's going to be the case probably on Sunday as well, because you can't really drop McTominay at the moment, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think
We
Ten
would have
Hag
thought
really,
that at the beginning of the season as well. McTominay
yeah,
undroppable.
yeah, exactly. I think Ten Hag really likes him because of obviously his height. When you got people like Malacia and Martinez, you need that height around you. So Varane, McTominay, you need those players who can head the ball out on defensive set pieces, even attacking set pieces. So I think McTominay is really key, and I think he's going to be key on Sunday as well. When you got a midfield of De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, obviously Rodri, you really need someone who can go around and mark all those players. And yeah, I think McTominay is going to be in for a good game on Sunday.
McTominay tends to have a decent competition with Kevin De Bruyne as well when Kevin De Bruyne has played in the centre midfield. So there have been a couple of times when there's like literally just made him like non-existent in the game so far. And it goes to show that if Erik ten Hag kind of plays these kind of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer tactics that have worked at the Etihad previously, where we are sitting back, and we have kind of done this against Arsenal and Liverpool respectively this season, and we go out on the counter attack with the front 3 that we would have. It goes to show that it can be done and we can nullify Manchester City. It's just about how our midfield kind of goes forward as well. And if we do start with McTominay, Eriksen, and Bruno Fernandes, that would be a lot more controlling for us as well. We wouldn't go for the 2 holding midfielders of Casemiro and McTominay, which I think could be a viable option as well. But I don't see how you drop Christian Eriksen in this team. I don't see where you get rid of him, and because he's found his home for me in that number 8 position next to Scott McTominay in the way that he can dictate play from the back. And we've really missed a play like that ever since Michael Carrick's kind of left Manchester United. As a player, we haven't really replaced that ball playing centre midfielder who can dictate the tempo and calm the game down and change the game with a pass just like that as well. So, what are your thoughts? What do you reckon the midfield will be for this weekend?
The only other thing I thought of is would he put Bruno on, like, play him out wide off a wing position, or as a false 9, something like that. But I think he's got to keep it. I think he's got to keep Bruno, Eriksen, and McTominay. When I've seen Casemiro, I don't think he's fully fit yet or fully in the United way.
Yeah.
I think maybe he needs a few more weeks training, maybe a few of the Europa League games that are coming up, because obviously United are going to be playing every 3 days now until the World Cup. So there's going to be loads of games for Casemiro to get, but I just don't think he's up to speed. I know he played for Brazil in midweek and maybe the week before that, so maybe he's had a few more games under his belt. But yeah, I don't think you can drop McTominay. You can't drop Eriksen after he's put in so many man of the match performances since his arrival. And obviously Bruno picks himself, he's captain now. and yeah, he's one of our linchpins. So those three have to start. It's just whether he mixes it up by putting Bruno as a false nine or in one of the forward positions. But I don't think he can do that.
I wouldn't put Bruno as a false nine because we tried that last season as well. I think it was rather Pogba false nine and Sancho on the left and Bruno on the right, something like that we had, or Elanga.
Mm.
It just didn't really work for us. We had no outlet besides Sancho going forward, and that's the only time we scored in that 4-1 defeat last season as well. So I really like the way that we're playing at the moment. What's kind of done it for you in terms of with the midfield? Because this is a refreshing defense, a refreshing midfield as well. I'm really liking this Bruno and Eriksen kind of axis that we have as well, because it's not as cliche as the Pogba and Bruno Fernandes axis that we've had before, but they just kind of just get on with the job. They will happily both press together. Eriksen's covering so much more ground than I ever expected for him as well as a number 8. And Bruno Fernandes is pressing from the front properly as well. And it goes to show that we are winning the ball back earlier, especially the goal against Leicester as well. And the goal against Arsenal where Eriksen gets the ball into feet, passes it on the half turn to Bruno, and Bruno straight away through to Rashford. We're a lot quicker in our play and we're a lot quicker going forward as well. But what's been the key takeaway for you from watching this midfield, Anthony?
I think it's just Eriksen's intelligence. As you said before, he is another Michael Carrick, and to get a player of that caliber for free was just amazing.
Yep.
You saw him midweek for Denmark. He scored that wonderful goal. I think he created like 8 chances the other day for Denmark, or he had some mad statistics. He's just been immense, really. And yeah, as you said, he has surprised me with his work rate. He can get around in the midfield engine room, and he can be a number 6. He can be a number 8. He's so versatile, and he just adds more to his game. And he's so intelligent. I think Gary Neville said it the other day. Like, his intelligence is supreme. And when you got intelligent players on the football pitch, they're going to be able to pass to each other. They're going to be able to link up. So you can see that Bruno and Eriksen, they're going to get the best out of each other, which is something that Pogba and Bruno couldn't really do. But yeah, this new midfield is exciting. And then when you got a player of Casemiro's ability who will eventually come in, it's going to be a good midfield three, I think, as long as they stay fit and firing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how Casemiro does get embedded into this team as well, because there's so much rotation that we finally have of quite a big caliber as well. Like even with Fred and Van der Beek coming into the team and out of the team as well, it'll be good to see how they end up doing eventually. Hopefully getting a lot more Europa League game time for them as well and coming on as a second half sub where Fred has done very well in that respect as well. So he's been pressing from the front as well. He's been making a lot more progressive carries, which I haven't really seen Fred do much as of recently, and it goes to show that Ten Hag's had a good impact, on the kind of players that we already have, which is good to see. But here's the worrying thing for me: there are talks of Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford being doubtful for the game on the weekend as well. There are talks that Rashford is doubtful and Sancho is 50-50. But how would you kind of set up this attack against Manchester City if they were fit? I think Anthony, Sancho, and Rashford being in the middle, would be the ideal starting 11 up front, starting 3 up front as well. But is it looking likely that Sancho could be out and Rashford could be out, or is it going to be like until the last minute they'll give it a go? Because they both didn't play for England, so it's refreshing to see. And Anthony played yesterday, I think, against
Yeah,
Tunisia.
yeah. I think Sancho's fit though, because I've seen him in the training pictures, and I think he was fit for the England squad, but Southgate just chose not to
Pick him.
include him. So I think Sancho's definitely fit. Rashford, they'll probably leave it last minute. They might just be saying he's not fit at the moment and then having a bit of a mind game. Yeah, Ten Hag's presser will be on Friday. He doesn't normally say that much to the media, but that will be interesting. But as you said, I think Rashford. I was watching some of the goals actually earlier against Man City away at the Etihad, and Rashford normally has a good record there. So yeah, hopefully he can play as a number 9 with Anthony and Sancho on the wing. If not, I think Ronaldo's just a bench player now. Even for Portugal, he's struggling. So I don't think he's a viable starter against City. Elanga, he doesn't do it for me really. I don't think he's at that level. Maybe as a last 15-minute player, he can come on and add some pace, but yeah, he's not really a starter for me. And then obviously you got Martial, who we don't really know too much about his injury. I think Ten
Yeah,
Hag said he had a Achilles strain, but yeah, we haven't really heard anything. He hasn't been in any of the pitches, the training pitches, so it seems like he's going to be out. So I think the front three is going to pick itself if Rashford's fit. What do you
yeah,
think?
absolutely. Because with Rashford as well, winning Player of the Month in September, I thought it was quite surprising to be fair. I thought there were better players, but I'm really happy that he got it. Great for his confidence. It's going to be really good to see how he ends up doing against Manchester City, because we have seen him at the Etihad kind of tear it up apart. Especially for me, not really the 15-16 one, the 1921 when we won 2-1 because we were just counter-attacking like the Red Arrows in that game as well.
Yeah.
Daniel James, Marcus Rashford, Jesse Lingard, and Anthony Martial were all going against this team as well. And it goes to show that if this is the way that we have to play against Man City, so be it. It's literally starting from Marcus Rashford as our number 9. And he goes to show that when you have a high line, like we've seen against Arsenal, you can get past them as well. It goes to show how you've got the right people in the right place in the right position as well. And Marcus Rashford is the one to be working in between probably Nathan Ake and Ruben Diaz or Akanji if it's fit, because John Stones is injured as well from the England game that we recently saw as well. So it goes to show that if you can take on Kyle Walker at right back or Cancelo at left back, you can do it. But I think Rashford in the middle will be a really big thing as well. So it goes to show that we have.
City can never
left.
deal with pace, can they? They can never deal with pace. I think that's their bugbear.
Yeah, it's just Kyle Walker and that's it. Like Kyle Walker, he can trap people back, but even against the Sancho goal last season, he just kind of stepped off him and let Sancho cut inside and carried on. I know there was an overlap and run, but it goes to show that there's a lot of people that kind of just back off a lot of players, and Kyle Walker is one of them. He can recover, but he doesn't really end up going a bit. It doesn't really end up going as far as he can do. And I reckon with Kyle Walker playing in that back 5 for England, he's a lot more comfortable in that respect as well than playing in the back 4 for Man City with these inverted fullbacks, and he is one of them as well. But let's talk about the opposition now, Anthony. Pep Guardiola's had a fantastic season as always. Manchester City have had a great start to the season. Their attack hasn't been as reliable as normal because their attack has only been one man, in my opinion, Erling Haaland. And it goes to show when you have a number 9, people were doubting how he would start in the season. I know for a fact you and I were never ones that were doubting him. How do you stop Erling Haaland from a Man United point of view? And how do you stop this Manchester City attack?
That's a great question. I said in another podcast before the season that Haaland's going to score 40 Premier League goals, and I still think he will. Because he's just unreal, whether it's heading, whether it's that goal what he scored the other day where I don't know how he managed to get his foot up there. It's just
extraordinary.
It's mad. What you got to do is stop the service to him because you know he's a finisher. He'll finish anything. So it's stopping De Bruyne, it's stopping Silva, it's stopping Foden, making sure the ball doesn't go into him because if not, he's going to be a danger. So yeah, it's just maybe pushing him wide, whether we can try and do that. So he's not in and around the 6-yard box. We're getting those little tap-ins or those little touches what managed to go into the goal. So yeah, it's all about stopping the service. But obviously that's a hard thing to do when you've got players of De Bruyne on the pitch and Foden's caliber. But they don't worry me too much. Obviously Haaland worries me a lot because we know how good he is. But yeah, Foden and Grealish, I think if you get stuck into them, sometimes they can shy away a bit. Obviously, Grealish is quite good at winning fouls and stuff around the area, which we don't want to give away because they could be a bit of a threat at set pieces if they knock it into Haaland. But yeah, it's just about stopping those playmakers, really. What do you think?
Absolutely. Because when you're looking at Grealish, he's made this interview recently with Man City saying it's not all about goals and assists, but for every other player in the attacking Premier League as well, it's always going to be about goals and assists. I know he draws fouls. I know he's someone who will look to bring other players into play and hold the ball up, which he does very, very well. But he's looking like a shell of himself that he was at Aston Villa. And it's someone where you're kind of looking at how they could set up this team. And for me, if I was a Manchester City manager, obviously I'm not, but I'd go for Rodri, I go for Gundogan, and I go for De Bruyne because Gundogan is always that player that can catch us out. He can catch us out with those edge of the box type runs. He can catch us out with being in the right position at the right time for these goals as well. And you're kind of looking at it and thinking Ilkay Gundogan versus Christian Eriksen could be a very good battle as well. If McTominay's on Kevin De Bruyne, how are you going to try and combat this midfield? And if you've got Bernardo Silva on the right or Riyad Mahrez on the right and Phil Foden on the left with Erling Haaland, that's where you're kind of thinking, does Dalot and does Malacia attack as they normally would? And you know how Erik ten Hag's gone into the system with has gone for an inverted fullback at times and has gone for a 3 in the midfield as well. It's quite worrying to see how Manchester City, in my opinion, just look unstoppable for this game. I know you said they are there to be beaten, but I think we can only beat them from a counter-attacking position as well. If we do draw them all in, if we do contain them very well, how do you kind of think that Man United can kind of beat them?
Yeah, it is about the counter attacks, but will Ten Hag want to play that way? As you said, we have kind of played it against Arsenal and Liverpool, but he's more of a possessive based manager, isn't he? So it's going to be tight. It's going to be interesting to see because there's going to be so many battles on the pitch, whether it's Haaland versus Varane or whether he goes on to Lissandro Martinez or the De Bruyne McTominay battle. Just battles everywhere. So it's just exciting to see it come Sunday afternoon, I think.
Definitely. And Anthony versus Cancelo will be a very big battle as well. If Anthony does get the nod ahead of Elanga or whoever we've got as a right winger as well. So it goes to show
Mm.
that Cancelo has been one of the better fullbacks in this Premier League for the last 2, 3 seasons, in my opinion. He has a fresh test against him, which will be very good to see. And it'll be very good to see how it kind of goes forward as well. But last thing on Manchester City before we move on to the next kind of topic, Anthony, right there, is with this Manchester City side, do you finally think that this is a side that can actually win the Champions League with the likes of Erling Haaland in the team, with a Kanji coming in for that backup at centre back? How do you kind of see it going forward?
Yeah, when you look across Europe, obviously the Premier League's the strongest league, I think, within those top five leagues, and City are the best in the Premier League. So yeah, why not? They've got one of the best managers in the world. So they've added a striker of Haaland's caliber to their squad. If they keep everyone fit, as long as Pep doesn't go crazy with some kind of stupid tactic, what he normally does in the Champions League,
Oh my
then
god,
I think, yeah, between them, obviously PSG, I think they could go all the way as well this year. Real Madrid are always a problem, but yeah, I feel like City can definitely go to the semi-final or final, 100%.
definitely. And just on your opinion on Manchester United, how do you think is their best way of getting into the Champions League? Do you reckon it will be by winning the Europa League, or do you reckon it will actually be by getting into that top four? Because the top four is looking a lot more dangerous than it normally does with this season. And Spurs are still unbeaten in the league as well. Arsenal looking like the real deal for a change.
Mm.
What's your thoughts on that?
We should be doing both
Mm,
with the money what Ten Hag got this summer, with the squad, with the players that we've got. We should be finishing in the top four, and we should be winning the Europa League. I don't
yeah,
think there's any excuses. Who else are in the Europa League? I know some teams will drop out from the Champions League, but Roma, obviously Tottenham. Sorry,
top
not Tottenham.
Arsenal,
Arsenal.
mm,
Yeah, Arsenal. Other than that,
PSV.
yeah, other than that, I don't think there's anyone to be scared of, really.
It could be one of those things where Barcelona finish third in their group and Inter Milan and actually no, it could be Inter Milan finishing third and Bayern and Barcelona get through, and then they
Yeah,
could be another big team coming into it. But it goes to show that there are a lot of top quality teams. Spurs could even drop down in the Europa League. We don't know for sure as
yeah,
well, but I think we'll have a better idea in February because that's when we'll see the better teams come into the Europa League.
yeah.
But like you said, we should be wrapping this group up by game week 5, in my opinion, as well, after that defeat to Sociedad. So win the ones away and win the ones at home, we should be absolutely fine in that respect.
Yeah, because we haven't got Sociedad until the last game, have we?
Yeah, I think so. And
So,
that's an away game as well.
yeah, so the next three we have to win.
Mm.
Yeah, because we
Which,
haven't even played the weakest team in the group yet, and yeah, we'll thrash them both games, I think.
yeah, that's after the Man City game as well. I think that's on Thursday. So it goes to show how Erik ten Hag has to really manage this really busy October as well. Because I think we've got 9 games in the month as well, which is crazy. So we're literally playing, like you said, every 3 days for the rest of the
Mm.
month as well, coming up in October, which will be pretty good as well. But last thing on the podcast, before we move on to hopefully when Salim joins us later on, is your best 3 memories in a Manchester City versus Manchester United game. So this is when they're playing at the Etihad or Main Road. What are your best kind of memories that you've had as a Man United fan watching them at the Etihad?
At the Etihad. There was a goal. What Paul Scholes? I can't remember the year, but when Paul Scholes scored at Main Road, I think it was on the way to winning the league title.
Mm.
And yeah, he scored a winner. It was a late winner as well, and yeah, that was probably up there, 100%. Um, Obviously one of those games where Rashford scored. Did we beat them 2-0 away at their place? I think it was
Uh,
one of Rashford's first goals away at the Etihad.
yeah, I think that was. I think he scored. Did he score 2 in that game? Was it 2-0 or was it 1-0 in 2016? Let's have a check. It
Yeah, I
was
think
United 2016. Yeah, 2016. Rashford. Was it saying 1-0? 2015, 16. Still looking for it. Yeah, it was 1-0 Marcus Rashford winner. That was it.
yeah,
When
that
he
one because
retired Demi Kellis.
yeah, he left him for dead. But yeah, that was a great game. Obviously it was just another one of those chapters where Rashford really marked his name in the Premier League, and yeah, that was good to see. So
Captivated
that's
it right there. And what's your last memory from that fixture?
last one. So it's got to be at the Etihad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Trying to think. Maybe the 2-1 game where Rashford scored the penalty and Martial scored as well. Otamendi scored for them late on, just because it was a game where was Solskjaer under pressure then, or was he just about to get the permanent job?
That was the season after he got the permanent job. So he was like, that was his first season in the permanent job from the beginning as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So to go to their place and beat them 2-1, that was great as well. Hopefully we can replicate that come Sunday afternoon.
That would be perfect as well. Couple of honourable mentions for me. The 3-2 when Robin van Persie scored that last minute free kick. That was incredible. And Rooney scored twice in that game. That's one of my favourites.
Yeah.
The 3-2 where we were losing 2-0 at half time. And literally City fans were going to get ready for the parade as well and everything, celebrating with the trophy on the pitch. And then we came back with 2 goals from Paul Pogba and a winner from Chris Smalling as well.
Oh, yeah.
And then probably my last one. So I add a bit of variety into it. It's kind of when Luke Shaw scored in lockdown, because remember in lockdown, not being able to go to any of the games, Bruno Fernandes scored the penalty. That was when Man City went on to win the league that season as well.
Yeah.
The season after Liverpool won it. But it's just one of those nice feelings that you're watching some of these games and you're just like, oh, I can't be in the stadium, can't be watching it. There's no crowd, there's no atmosphere. And we had lost to them at Old Trafford previously and in the League Cup. And we had drawn to them early in the season as well. So it goes to show that the way that we are playing in that season, even though I think we finished second in that season, second under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Yeah.
We literally pulled out as much quality as we could in that game, and we did quite well in my opinion. So those are 3 kind of memories that I had of when Man United would go to Manchester City and turn up, hopefully. But yeah, we've discussed everything we've needed to today. We've talked about how Erik ten Hag can try and get the better of Pep Guardiola. Talked about how some of the players can try and win their individual battles as well. Talked about the history of the fixture. And Anthony, I just wanted to say one last thing. What's your score prediction for the game?
I'm going to go for a draw, I don't think we're going to lose. Yeah, I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to stay positive. I'm going to go 1-1. I think there'll be a few goals. 1-1. Rashford to score. And probably Haaland for my fantasy Premier League team.
Is my captain. Is my captain. I was going to say like 2-2 or 3-2 to someone as well. It tends to be a high-scoring game at the Etihad, so no one really plays conservative when we're playing at the Etihad because Man City are expansive as ever, really. So it goes to show how crazy we can be and how crazy these scorelines can be. So I'm going to be optimistic. I'll go for I'll go for a 2-2 Man United win. I don't see us winning, like you said, but I think it could be one of those little valiant comebacks that we have, like City are winning 2-0 at half time. And then we come back into the game and then we just show some fight and some determination. And that's what we've kind of needed for a while. The way that we're playing under Ten Hag since the Brentford game, we are showing some fight and some determination, probably minus the Sociedad game that we had in the Europa League. But those were a lot of the squad players coming in for that game as well. But yeah, looking forward to seeing how we play on Sunday. Looking forward to the game as well, which would be good fun. But yeah, let's move on to part 2 of the podcast. Anthony, thank you very much for your time today. Looking forward to seeing you again soon and looking forward to getting you onto the podcast a lot more frequently this season, which should be good.
Thanks again for having me. Just one last thing. Haaland's not my captain this week. I've put Salah captain just because, I don't want him to score too many goals against United.
I have Kane, Jesus, Martinelli, Haaland, and Kulusevski. So I'm literally banking on 2 different games for my goal scorers to kind of score as well. So it goes to show how well it will be going forward as well. But no, looking forward to this weekend. It'll be great fun. Anthony, thank you very much for your time. Everyone, we'll see you in part 2. Take care and goodbye.